Welcome to the exploit system episode. Greyhack has had a big update where the entire exploit system has been changed and remade. And I have been getting a lot of requests and questions from you guys where you want me to explain the new system and make a video about it. I can understand why, because it's a fairly complex system and I don't think I have a complete grasp of it yet myself. I am getting there, but it's fairly complex, so I can understand why you guys want it. In this episode, I think I will make a first attempt at explaining like the overall idea and give you an idea of like where to start at least. So it won't be in depth because that would take a lot of time because it's a very big and a very complex system. But let's start with some of the changes to just get an overview. I guess one of the first changes that you will notice is when you, like normal, go to your hack shop and you look in the shop, you will see that all the exploits, or pretty much all of them, have been removed. The old ones that we all knew and loved. And they've been replaced with this, these weird random strings of text names. So I think I will try to give an overview of what has happened in here. And as you can see, the admin monitor and the decipher tools are, I believe, the only tools that are from the previous system. That's what's left, and everything else is new. Let's start with the random letter exploit things. So these exploits are procedurally generated, and they have, let's just click on one. They have different functions. They can be used either remotely or locally. They give some kind of credentials, usually, I believe. And they have a specific file that they target on the system that you hack. And then they might also have some requirements that needs to be filled in order for the exploit to run. So there are like a bunch of different, like some of them are for other kind of files, like this is the lib smtp. There are some that, like for example, this one gets you bank credential files. So you will pretty much have to like read what is the exploit doing and try to fit that in with what you are trying to achieve. I will get more in depth with this later, but that's like how the new system works. So instead of having like a shell web that did the same thing every time and you just updated it to a new version, you might find something that is working like shell web. For example, a guest shell on a HTTP server, but you will have to like find it among these randomly generated exploits. You could potentially find a shell web or something working exactly like shell web. What it might also have, of course, is target versions, just like shell web, but added to that, it might have requirements that need to be filled as well. So that's like, in a nutshell, how the new exploit system works. In order to use any of these exploits, there is now a, what shall we say, there is now a new kind of file. There it is, the meta exploit. And this exploit file thing is like a door to all the different exploits. So without this master hacking tool, you won't be able to use any of the other ones. And how it works is you download it. Let's see here. I have already downloaded mine to my user folder. And then, since it's a library, and I will get more into that as well later, I guess. Let's just go here. So here in the main folder, there's a lib folder, and this folder contains the libraries. So you can see we already have a few of them. And in order to use the master hacking tool library, we need to place the metaxploit in here. This folder is protected by default, so I can just show that, I guess. If you were to like download a metaxploit like I have and try to transfer it over here, you will get permission denied. And the way you would do that is you would get a root access, or you will need to get root access. So you use like sudo in the terminal, put your password, and then you can open file explorers with root access. So now these, let's open another one. These two file explorers have root access. And then I'll navigate to the metaxploit, and I'll navigate to the library folder. You can also do this from the terminal, of course, but let's just do it like this. And then you transfer it over. And this way, the hacking tools that you download will now be able to run on your computer. However, this metaxploit tool or library, it will only enable you to run exploit on your computer. So let's say that you hack into another computer and you want to like escalate the root privileges or something, the permissions. Then you will need to get metaxploit onto that system as well in order to run it. So this is like a door that opens up all these other libraries on a computer, and if this is not present on the computer, then these will not be accessible. There is another way of doing that as well, but I think that's too in-depth for an overview. Okay, so we know how these work a little bit, and we know how to use them or how to enable running them by putting a metaxploit in the library folder. There are a few other stuff here that are new. So there is a crypto.so. This is the library that enables you to use the decipher tool. By default, there is a crypto file on your computer, which means that there's no real need to spend money on this one, at least this early. Should I mention that? Okay, I will mention it. So, as you can see, there are versions for the libraries, and these versions dictate what kind of exploits are in the libraries. So, the libraries act as a kind of a door, but the door works both ways. So you will be able to access and hack systems, but if you have a metaxploit or any other library for that matter on your computer, there are also weaknesses in these libraries. And so by updating the libraries, you can get some kind of security from the generated exploits. So like if we find like a kernel module.so that has to be like this version, then we can put another kernel module version in our own computer to protect against this exploit. and that's why you would want to change the versions or update them. That's probably way too advanced for this video, but there you go. So that's like the big visual change that you will see when you start in the new system or playing with the new system. That the hack shop is totally different and you don't know what these things do. Another thing that is, I guess, somewhat new and a little bit older, but I have not made any videos for that yet, so I guess I'll have to mention that here as well, is that the way you hack with scripting has changed. So previously you could, see here, you could like get a router, and from the router you could get a computer or all the computers connected to the router, and then you could use the computer functions to get let's see here, we have like computer.file, and that would enable us to get a file on that particular computer, and then we could do things to that file. So that enabled us to pretty much just select an IP, select which computer on that IP, and then select which file on that computer. And this could be a NPC server or a player server. We could like check out the player's file system if we had permissions, stuff like that. This has now changed. There are now more steps involved in hacking, and that's in like a big part of that is the new exploit system. So what happens is you first get a you need like this door, like I talked about, this metaxploit hacking tool, and you put that or you use that to get access to the other libraries. You then scan the other libraries for vulnerabilities. You then use those vulnerabilities with the metalib overflow. This might be technical for some of you guys, so this is like just an overview. I will probably make some kind of video about this later, but for those who are just returning and have a bit of scripting knowledge, I'm trying to get some stuff for you as well. So we have the metalib overflow, and we use the unsecure values that we found when we scanned the libraries on the target, and this will return different kind of things. It could return a shell, it could return the password file, like there are different kind of things that this can return. And when you get, for example, a shell, you use the shell when you can either like start a terminal, which will start the terminal on the computer where the shell is connected to, or you can do like host computer to get the computer, and from there the process is very similar to what it was before. Like for example, host computer, now we have the computer, now we can use computer.file like I showed earlier up here, and then we can use file.something to check out the different file systems and copy and delete stuff and all that fun stuff. So there are like more steps now. You usually want to use the overflow together with a exploitable value that you found here, and that will return something that you can then use to exploit the system. I hope that's not too complicated, even though it probably was. When I make a video about some simple server script hacking, I will, or server hacking script, I will try to be more in depth. But I think that's like what it, like how it works now. In the next episode, I'll probably show how you would use these new exploits without any knowledge of scripting to complete some of the missions and get some money and stuff like that. Yeah, there's one more thing. So there is a scanlib program, and this is also another new tool that was added. So it says analyze the provided library to search for vulnerabilities. And what this does is, like I talked earlier about how you would get vulnerable, or like find vulnerabilities in the libraries by using the metador to access them. This only gives access, so we need a tool to actually scan and find these unsecure values, and that's what this is for. So unless you can probably make some easy stuff with it, but you will need to do some kind of scripting to at least exchange the values in a script you downloaded for new values that you find when you scan when you use this one. So it's optional, but I guess if you want to like make some easy stuff, or you're starting out scripting, this could be a good tool to find the unsecure values and play around with how you can use them to gain access to servers. I think I will end the video or episode here. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next